Welcome to Bet On. I am Kelly Stewart. This is college football week number 3. Let's bring in my two favorite guys, Marco D'Angelo, the great gambler. It's Marco. Let's talk about what you guys have up over on wagertalk.com. Each of you have a 5% play. You have a 5% on college football. Ace has one in the NFL. Tell everybody what they can expect from our 5% plays.
Don't buy it. That's
What?
the thing, guy. Don't buy my 5% play. It's $35 for the 5% play. If you use coupon code Marco77, you'll get 7 days for $77. Can't beat that. And we've been on a 65% run since July 28th, going on 6-7 week run. Let's keep it rolling, Kelly. I'm looking forward to a big weekend.
Love to see it. Ace, what do you have up over at wagertalk.com? How is your college football season been going thus far?
I'm ahead, and you know me. I look over the last 365. I know I'm up college football. I know I'm up NFL. Got to be up over the last 30 days, last 7 days, stuff like that. I'm doing well, and firing a 5% play in the NFL this week. Last week I didn't plan one, but like half hour before kickoff, a 4% became stronger. But this week I've already eyeballed one before I even look. I knew the look ahead, but real quickly. Don't worry, it ain't in there yet. I pass it along when it's the best time for us to take advantage. Again, I'm looking for the best time to take advantage of the betting lines. So sit back, sit tight. The 5% is coming your way.
I love to see it. Let's talk about the big game this weekend in the SEC. Alabama is a 14.5 point favorite at Florida. The total is 59.5. Marco, I'm going to go to you first, but I'm looking at the dog here. Am I crazy?
No, Kelly, I'm with you on the dog, and everybody's in love with Alabama, as they are every year, and why not? Alabama come out of the gate and dismantled Miami in week 1, and then last week, so what? They played Mercer, no big deal. But here's my thing. We have to find out really how good this Alabama team is. My concern is they weren't dominant on the ground in those first 2 games. 147 and 158 yards rushing. 34 and 38 carries in those 2 games. Generally, Alabama with those kind of rushing attempts would be over 200 yards. We know Coach Saban is a master when he has time to prepare. And so he looked really good against Miami because he had all summer to prepare for them. Let's see what happens this week against this Florida team. We've seen the money, and I'll be interested to see what VR says, is this line was as high as 15 and is starting to trickle back down. We're seeing 14.5, and I've even seen some 14s with added juice. So some money is coming in on Florida. I'm agreeing with it. I'm taking Florida plus the points. We'll see for sure how good Alabama is on Saturday.
VR, do you agree with Marco? Man, it sure does seem like everybody is ready to crown Alabama the national champion after the last 2 weeks. Florida looks like the play to me. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to the window here, but do you agree with us?
I didn't see any betting syndicate money on the side yet, but I'm not surprised to see some sharp bettors picking off 14.5, thinking it may go below that 14, trying to get better than 2 touchdowns, because there's probably a higher likelihood, even though it is Alabama, that the line will probably drop a little bit more than really go up a lot higher, because they're playing a 2-0 Florida team that's a ranked team. I mean, it's not as if they're playing a nobody. It's Florida. In the coaches poll, Florida is even a top 10 team. So this is what we talked about when we did the college football preview. And I said how in the NFL, the number 1 team and the number 32 team, I can tell you right now, my own power ratings, you're going to have a 10-point difference right now in the beginning of the season, maybe 11 points between the best team and the worst team. In college football, you have that between the number 1 team and the number 5 team. In fact, most years, during those years that Alabama was dominant, it was Alabama at the top of your power ratings, and then the number 2 team was about 4 points below. The number 3 team was like 6 to 7, about a touchdown below. You don't get that in the NFL. In the NFL, the top 3 power rated teams on any odds makers power ratings are going to be within a half point not even a full point of each other this early in the season. They're going to have Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Baltimore right around each other within a half a point. Maybe some guys will have a point off between 1 and 3, but within 1 and 2, you're quarter of a points away, half points this early. You don't have the data to warrant anything greater in the NFL. In college football, very different because it's not an even playing field. It comes down to recruiting and your ability to load up your top. And what I mean by the top is, look what Alabama did. Forget the players. We already know the cliche. They don't rebuild, they reload. Yeah, we know that. We know they're going to have to reload with Heisman candidates every year. We know that. I'm talking about at the top. What did they do when they lost an offensive coordinator? They went to the NFL and grabbed a head coach from the Houston Texans. That's what Alabama has the power to do. That's why when they're number 1 in the nation, number 2, 3, 4, 5 are going to start to be more than a touchdown behind them as the season progresses. If you beat Alabama or give them a game, you're going to want to do it early. As the season progresses and less injuries hurt them, they are going to be the best team in college football. Now, the spread becomes the great equalizer. And in this game, I honestly just don't think it's high enough. I haven't bet it. I haven't released any play on this game at all, so I don't want to waste any more time on it. I just think that until we see otherwise, Alabama is so much better than everyone else. And now that they're playing a legit team like Florida, I think because of having lost all those players, the betting market hasn't caught up yet to just how good they're going to be when this season ends. And I'll say it again, like I did Monday night with Baltimore. And yes, they lost, but again, how it plays out is a different story before you're making your bet. And if Alabama was playing Florida in week 8, this would be a 3-touchdown spread. So for me, that's how I'm looking at it. I know it ain't week 7 or 8. It's early, young guys. But for me, it's Bama or pass.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment. That's right. We got Ralph Michaels for some TNA. For those of you that are new here, get your mind out of the gutter. That is some trends and angles. The guy with the pin and the owie on his face. Ralph, did you have too much fun at the Raiders game?
You know what? Here's the rule, guys. Never argue with Marco about his sandwich game of the week. You mess with an Italian and food and you see what happens. So, Marco and I went to the Raiders game and I decided to trip and fall and stop my fall with my face. It's not a smart idea. But Cal, all kidding aside, the logs that we brought to Wager Talk this year, I'm so excited to provide them. People ask me what I look at week in and week out. You listen to VR, you listen to Marco, you talk about teams that the public overreacted on or underreacted on. So basically, I did this. I take exactly what I look at each week. I put it in an easy-to-read format. I color code it. And I also put the entire schedule in rotation order. Couple things I want to point out, especially for our new bettors. Things to look at. First of all, you see who won the game with the score. You see the line. You see the total. But I also wanted to include, Kelly, the ATS margins and the over-under margins. I'm going to take an example of Houston. Houston, if you look at them, they are 0-2 over-under this year. But if you look at their games, they only went under by 5 points in one game, and they only went under by a half a point last game. So when you look at a team that just barely went under in 2 games, that is not a real 0-2 over-under record. If you see a team has gone over or under by 10 or 15 points over the spread, you want to make an adjustment on that. Next, plays per game and yards per play. When we get into total situations and you're looking at the pace of a team, how many plays they run, I think that's vital. Turnovers are color-coded, green or red for positive or negative. Those are situations that are an absolute must to look to. If a team got outgained but are +3 turnovers, folks, they might have scored defensive touchdowns and never had the ball. They might have scored special teams touchdowns. You have to throw out the yardage when you're looking at turnovers. And I'm very excited to add first quarter and first half logs. as the season progresses, there are certain teams that are popular first quarter plays, popular first half plays, or compared to a full game, there's teams that just make better halftime adjustments. A team, I'll give you an example, Houston Cougars again. Houston Cougars scored 21 points against Texas Tech. They scored 44 points against Rice. That's a total of 65 points. If you look at the first quarter logs, Kel, they have outscored their foes 31-0 in the first quarter, covering first quarter lines by 13.5 and 14 points. So as the season progresses, check out those teams that might be very strong first quarter or first half teams with the new Wager Talk logs. Go to Wager Talk, go to the Ralph Michaels page, and you'll see the absolute free download. The shortcut to that, wt.buzz/RM.
I love it, Ralph. Wager Talk gives out such great information and for free. I know you spend a lot of time on these logs as well as all of your other guides over at Wager Talk. Now, what the people have been waiting for, some of that TNA for college football week 3.
Well, these might be pretty obvious, but let's go through the numbers and let's go to the teams they apply for. Game 3. I think game 3 is important. Obviously, the opener is important. But game 3 for those teams, some start to get into conference play. Some start to play a tougher schedule. But are these teams legit or are they false? Well, when I look at game 3 teams that are 2-0, and they're a favorite of 14 or plus. So you started the opener with a win. You won game 2. You're a significant favorite in game 3. Teams 14-point favorite or more. Those teams, Kelly, the last 6 years have only covered 42.6% of the time. And if you look at home favorites of 14 or more that are 2-0, they have only covered 41% of the time. There are a slew of teams. I'm going to run through them quick. Remember, these are play against teams to a 59% level. Michigan, Army, Pittsburgh, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Iowa, Arkansas, Liberty, and Georgia. All of those teams 2-0 and a 14-point favorite of 2 or more. So you know me, Kel, we looked at one side of the equation. Now let's look at another subset of that. Game 3, favorites of 14 or more off a straight-up loss. If you're a favorite of 14 or more in game 3, you are a pretty good team playing a mediocre team. You're a mediocre team playing a horrible team, or you're a great team playing a good team. You're a 14-plus point favorite, 14 to minus whatever. So how do game 3 favorites do off a loss? You are now 1-1, or you're 0-2. You're a big favorite. Do you bully those foes, or do you let down? The answer is you clearly bully those teams. Favorites of 14 or more in game 3 off a loss, off a straight-up loss, since 2009 have hit 62.2%, going 56-34. What teams fit the bill this week? Ohio State off the loss to Oregon, Toledo off the loss to Notre Dame, Washington off the loss to Michigan, and Texas off the loss to Arkansas are the 4 teams that fit into the 62% mold. One subset to that, and this really shocked me. No teams fit the bill, but game 3 teams as a big favorite off a loss that did not play in a bowl last year have actually covered 74% of the time. But again, no teams fit that 74% category. And last one I'm looking at, if you are 2-0 against an 0-2 team, you have covered 59% of the time as a favorite. That's it. If you're a favorite and you're 2-0 against an 0-2 team, you have actually covered 59% of the time. That one shocked me. I thought the 2-0 teams would be overrated. If you're 2-0 and a home favorite of 14 or more against an 0-2 team, you have covered 64.3% of the time. So a couple situations to look at for game number 3. I hope that helps you with this week's college football card.
Thank you, Ralph. Great information. I can never write it down, so I'm going to have to go back and rewatch this. But before we do, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, the gentlemen have some barking dogs for everyone.
This Saturday, Marco's releasing his 5% college game of the month as he goes for 7 in a row with his top-rated plays after winning his 5% NFL opening week upset shocker outright on Arizona +3. This capped off a 5-0 Sunday for Marco, and since the end of July, he has gone 59-31 for 65% winners for a profit of $6,964. You can get this big 5% play by itself for $35, or get a 7 all-day access package and get every play Marco releases in all sports, which normally sells for $119, for just $77 when you use coupon code Marco77 when checking out on a 7-day all-access. Teddy Covers is red hot, cashing 67% of his plays since the beginning of August. Get 3 days of Teddy Covers selections for only $29, discounted from $69 using coupon code Teddy3 when checking out. That's less than $10 per day and includes any 5% big ticket releases, normally priced at $35 just by themselves. As an added bonus, anyone who purchases before Friday at midnight will get $10 in wager bucks, good toward a future Teddy Covers purchase credited to your account.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It is barking dog time. These barking dogs have been absolutely crushing it into week 3 of the college football season. So I'm going to start off with Marco, who I believe is a perfect 2-0.
We are, Kelly. Thank you for that. And we're going to go to one that people are going to want to say, are you crazy after last week? We're going to take Florida State plus the points here in this one, Kelly. And yeah, they're 0-2, and they lost week 1 to Notre Dame in a thriller that you were at. And then week 2, they lost to Jacksonville State as a 26.5-point favorite. So I want to say this, and follow me when I do. Florida State did not lose to Jacksonville State last week. They lost to Notre Dame for a second time. They lost that game twice. And what I mean by that is I used to do the radio show here in Vegas with Dave Koken, one of our esteemed colleagues. And we used to talk about this all the time, where you can lose the same game twice. And that's what happened to Florida State. They gave everything they had that week before against Notre Dame, came from the grave, if you remember, to send it into overtime, and then lost by 3. They were flat, and they had to come back on a short week. That game was on a Sunday and come back on Saturday. These kids thought they just had to show up and they would win on Saturday. That's not the case. Plus, Jacksonville State, that was a huge game for them, playing one of the big brothers. They will come to play this week, Florida State. And what I like about this Florida State team is they have demonstrated the ability to run the football. They ran the football roughshod over Notre Dame in that first game, 264 yards. I think they are able to manhandle Wake Forest at the line of scrimmage, and us getting points and getting this over a field goal. We're getting 5.5. That is an overreaction to what happened last week. I'll take Florida State. They win this one outright, Kelly. I'll take a little, VR's magic there and do a little sprinkle, or do I do like the famous restaurant guy and do it over the shoulder? Do the
Salt Bay. Yes, this is the Salt Bay. You got to go over the shoulder, around the back. Good call. I'm glad you like Florida State. They are on my long list for my 3-team money line underdog parlay. I have pissed off Florida State fans 2 weeks in a row, so I might as well make it 3. VR, who is your favorite underdog for week 3 in college football?
Heading into the show, we had only bet 2 underdogs. And I keep it honest with you guys. It's Wednesday. We tape early. I'm at the Contender Series all day Tuesday from 9 a.m. to like 9 p.m. So I haven't dug too deep myself, but I'm going to share as much actionable info with you guys as possible. So smash that like button again so it keeps coming. Here's the dogs we did bet. We bet Louisville at +7, and then we bet Minnesota at +3. Minnesota's the side I like more. I haven't bet them or released them yet, still going to dig in. But here's what I like about Minnesota, what I know immediately. I think they're undervalued in this spot, number one, because they haven't covered a game yet this season, and they underperformed big time against Miami last week. But you got to give them a pass. because they were coming off that Ohio State game that they literally could have won. I know they lost that game by 2 touchdowns, which is what more or less the spread was. But if you look at the box score, they outplayed Ohio State everywhere except the one metric that matters most in predicting who covers games and wins them, and that's turnovers. Not only did they fumble the ball twice, they lost both those fumbles. That's randomness at its best. Just 50-50, you should have picked up one of those. So everything went against this team. I like that, number one, that the market, I think, is going to undervalue them because of that. And on the flip side of that coin, even better, is the perfect storm. You have Colorado coming off an amazing game, at least it appears on paper, and against the betting market, where they were almost 3-touchdown underdogs, and they only lost by 3 to Texas A&M. So I think it sets up very nicely for Minnesota. And the reason Minnesota isn't getting the respect they should is because too much stock is being put into last season. Look at the season prior for their quarterback. His efficiency was up there with Burrow, Hurts, Fields. It was that good that season in 2019. In fact, it was ahead of Lawrence and Hebert. So I think this Minnesota team is more loaded than it appears. I think at +3 is a gift. They probably should be a pick 'em, so I'll take that. And since we started the show, 2 more dogs came in. I don't know anything about them. It's just one group. I don't see multiples betting them, but I'm here to share. 128 Indiana +4 they took, and 178 San Diego State +9.5. Again, no premium or anything like that, but it is sharp because these guys are pretty sharp.
I do love it. I have Minnesota circled and Indiana, so that was good to hear. I'll take a closer look at those Aztecs. All right, Marco, people want to know, is the deli back open?
The deli is open, and whether it's been the deli with the sandwich or it's been the trap, we're perfect with those as well, Kelly. So let's keep that train rolling. And this week, man, do I got a sandwich for you. I hope you're hungry, Kelly, because this one has got meat on both sides of it. We got double meat here. And we're going to go to a team that might not be that tasty when I say the name of the team, but when I give you the situation, you're going to be salivating. And that is Vanderbilt +12 on Saturday. We're going looking at this one, Kelly. Let's start with Stanford. And anybody that's new to the show and doesn't know what a sandwich is all about what just happened the week behind you and what's going to happen the week in front of you. Well, you can't get a bigger sandwich for Stanford. Who's your 2 biggest rivals? Okay, at the end of the year, it's California. That's the made rivalry. But when you're in the Pac-12, you're looking at USC and you're looking at UCLA. What did Stanford do last week? They went on the road and beat USC. Cost Coach Helton his job, got fired after that game. Should have probably been fired last year. But they got the big win as a 17-point underdog. Now they play Vanderbilt. They got to travel cross country. The reason I point that out, they're traveling to Tennessee. If you remember the first game of the season, I know Kelly remembers it. They were in Arlington playing Kansas State. So now this is a team that's on the road for the 3rd week in a row, traveling from California to Texas, back to California, now to Tennessee. And, oh, wait, who do they have next week? UCLA. Yeah, this is a flat spot for them. Look right past Vanderbilt. This is a huge game for Vanderbilt. They're getting a Pac-12 school coming in to their building. They don't win many games, Vanderbilt, but we don't have to win this one. We just got to stay close, and I think they will. And that's the whole nature of a sandwich game. It's not going to you're going to be taking teams most of the time that are inferior teams that normally should lose to their opponent, but because of the situation, makes them plus EV. And we're taking Vanderbilt +12 as the sandwich game of the week.
Marco, speak for yourself. I want Vanderbilt to win outright. I love that we are in lockstep this week. VR, give me some of that steam information. You've always got that pot of gold. I know you have a laundry list of games that our listeners need to be paying attention to.
And remember, steam, you want to get ahead of it, or else once it moves too much, the value's extracted. But you still want to know what winning bettors are on. I shared Monday real steam, which was, obviously Coastal Carolina at minus 12.5. That's real steam. Now you're looking at 14.5. What my guys pay me for. Georgia State minus 2.5. Now you're looking at minus 4.5. Again, that's steam. That's what I try to get out ahead of. Here's a total that I gave out this morning to my guys that I think you can still get the best of. We went over 55.5, Eastern Michigan, Massachusetts. There's still 56s out there. You're probably good through 57 is a 4% play. And here's the reason. This is a 60-plus point game, at least on paper. You're looking at first Eastern Michigan. The offense was really good last year, averaged 400-plus yards and 33 points per game. And it's continuing. I don't think that's going to change, especially against an opponent like Massachusetts. Don't let what you saw last week change what is going to come out of Eastern Michigan. That was Wisconsin. You're not going to put up points against Wisconsin. That's what Eastern Michigan can't do that. They can score against Massachusetts. And on the flip side, it's UMass who has come into the season need an offense. And it was last week. See, when they only put up 7 against Pittsburgh, it was like, the same thing. Massachusetts has no offense, so they're a team I want to look to fade in certain spots depending on the total. But then last week, we saw against Boston College, they put up 28 points. That tells me they did focus really on the offense, like at least it looks like on paper in the offseason. So I like the value in the over. I released it. I bet it. Don't want to take up more in your time. I rather share more plays that I haven't released, but I can tell you with definite or steam because I moved them for multiple groups. I only share the stuff that at least 2 groups bet. 195 over 74.5. Tulane, Mississippi. 2 or more. Game 151 under 61. Tulsa, Ohio State. 113 over 50.5 all the way to over 52. Connecticut Army. 131 Wyoming minus 6.5. 166 UTSA minus 13.5. And 204 UCLA minus 10. 171 Troy minus 9.5. Multiple betting syndicates bet those. Now, whether you like them or you don't, or you can take advantage of it, fade it, follow it, whatever. Just sharing you what bettors that move the market, obviously, are betting going into this Saturday's games. Hopefully it helps you. Smash that like button. They keep coming.
Happy to see some of those VR on your list. You gave out a few of those on Monday as well. So hopefully our listeners got the best of those numbers. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, it's time for those best bets.
This Saturday, Marco's releasing his 5% college game of the month as he goes for 7 in a row with his top-rated plays after winning his 5% NFL opening week upset shocker outright on Arizona +3. This capped off a 5-0 Sunday for Marco, and since the end of July, he has gone 59-31 for 65% winners for a profit of $6,964. You can get this big 5% play by itself for $35, or get a 7 all-day access package and get every play Marco releases in all sports, which normally sells for $119, for just $77 when you use coupon code Marco77 when checking out on a 7-day all access.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It is time for best bets. In true Bet On It fashion, I'm going to go first in this college football slate. I know I'm going to get a ton of grief for this. I don't even know why I did this to myself, because if it loses, I'm never going to hear the end of it. But I am going to take my Kansas State Wildcats +2. If you've been hiding under a rock, you didn't know that quarterback Skylar Thompson got hurt last week, and Will Howard came in, threw a pick, looked absolutely atrocious. But it is what it is. I think this is just a definite line move of too many points. A good friend, Kenny White, tweeted yesterday, Skylar is worth 4.5 points to the betting line, but K-State should have been a 4-point favorite. At home, this Wildcats team, yes, going all the way back to Bill Snyder's first era, has been an absolute monster of an underdog. K-State Stadium, Bill Snyder Family Stadium, is going to be absolutely rocking. Then Mark Lawrence had to go ahead and send me a message. Wolfpack 0-5 straight up in Big 12 games. I know it's a small sample size, but I think that there's a definite overreaction here. And I just have to hope that Will Howard puts together a complete game and that the rest of the team bails him out. I think K-State should get this win. I'll take the 2 points with the home underdog. Marco, who is your best bet for week 2 in college football?
Well, Kelly, you forgot to also say with your Kansas State team, you've got the injured player theory working for you. So I'm with you on Kansas State. I agree with you. For me, I'm going to the Pac-12. And why? Because that's all anybody talked about is how bad the Pac-12 is. We heard it with everybody except the Oregon game that upset Ohio State. Everybody else pretty much crapped the bed last Saturday. I'm going with Utah. And I think this line, we've seen some buyback on the number. The number that came out was way too low. It opened at 7.5, went to 9.5. Personally, I made this number 11, and I'm still taking Utah at minus 9.5 in this game. And here's why. San Diego State 2-0, but the 2-0 was against two very bad football teams. New Mexico State, horrible team. Arizona, they were horrible last year. A lot of people thought maybe they would improve. I know there was a lot of steam on them last week, but they were coming off that game against BYU in Vegas in the new stadium and everything. And BYU was a physical team. San Diego State was able to manhandle them last week. It's all smoke and mirrors with San Diego State. They're not as good as past editions of San Diego State that we become accustomed to. Utah lost to BYU last week. That is a huge rivalry game, and Utah had won I don't know how many games in a row against BYU. So BYU came in there with a big chip on their shoulder at home as a home underdog. I'm sure Kelly was there with a home underdog BYU last week. That was a perfect situation. But we see the real Utah today. They will dominate both sides of the line of scrimmage. They can run the football, and they can stop the run. And if San Diego State is not successful running the football, they're done. And that's what I see happening here. I'm going to go ahead, take Utah, lay the points. My projected score is Utah 30-13. That's my college best bet for this week.
All right, VR, your best bet for this week in college football is?
We're going square. How this line's still where it is, I have no idea. I sent it out to subscribers today at 4% play, and that's Marshall minus the 10. Listen, you remember the collapse last year. This Marshall team was loaded and rolling along beautifully. They go into Rice as 24-point favorites. I mean, Rice goes into Marshall. Marshall's 24-point favorites. They lose that game. They get shut out 20-0, and the wheels come off. They lose the following week, and then they lose again to Buffalo. And what do? Even though they've been so competitive the last couple seasons, especially in that conference, they said, we got to go out there and grab a new head coach. And they went to Alabama and did the right thing. And they're that loaded team once again. And now you're bringing me East Carolina. Listen, Marshall knows you got to light up teams like this. They have no Power Fives on their schedule this year. Like, this defense is legit. This offense is as loaded as they were last year. And now you have the excitement with the new coach. You saw it in week 1. You saw it in week 2. And all these teams that are inferior, if Marshall gets a chance to put the foot on the gas, you're going to get run over. And I think this has the makings of a team in East Carolina that could easily get run over by the Thundering Herd. So I'll keep it short and sweet. Lay the square 10 with Marshall before it gets any higher. And if you see it drop down to 8, then the wise guy steamed the hell out of the other side, and I'm on the wrong side. But I just think that line just baffles me. It should be 2 touchdowns.
I'm with you. I am also on the Thundering Herd this week, VR. That was a game that I got on early thinking it would get bet up higher. I was surprised to see it not. But you make a really great point. If we see that line start dropping, it might be time to get off of the Marshall Thundering Herd. Great stuff from both of these guys. Let's recap college football week 3.
Teddy covers is red hot, cashing 67% of his plays since the beginning of August. Get 3 days of Teddy cover selections for only $29, discounted from $69 using coupon code TEDDY3 when checking out. That's less than $10 per day and includes any 5% big ticket releases, normally priced at $35 just by themselves. As an added bonus, anyone who purchases before Friday at midnight will get $10 in wager bucks, good toward a future Teddy covers purchase credited to your account.
Welcome to those that just joined us because they scrolled all the way to the end of the show just to get our picks. And thank you for those of you that have been hanging out with us all show. Make sure you guys jump in those comments. You know, VR loves to read each and every single one of them. Best comments.
Everyone.
I'm going to start giving out wager bucks or something fun. I got to get with JD about that one. That being said, VR wants you guys to drop your best bets. So do that in the comments. And we're going to recap week 3 in college football. All right, the big game breakdown, Bama at Florida. Marco and I like Florida here. VR says it is Bama or pass. The Barking Dogs, I agree with both. We've got FSU and Minnesota. The deli's back open. Marco, man, loving the sandwich game. I know you said you don't need Vanderbilt to win outright, but I might, and I will let you guys know if I get there. Steam game this week, Eastern Michigan, Massachusetts over 56. I actually just bet it live. It is 56.5, so you guys are not too late to the party. Best bet for me, K-State +2. Marco has Utah -9.5. The Thundering Herd for VR -10. Again, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us each and every week on Bet On It. Up next, that's right, it is the NFL version of Bet On It.